In today's video we are once again taking a look at some knives made by South African knife maker Andrea de Villiers. So I have showcased the Savage and the Pitboss 2 recently, two versions of the Pitboss 2. And what I have here on the table today is one Alpha and one Alpha S. Both of them share a few similarities with the Pitboss 2. And if I had only owned a Javelin, I would have thrown it into the mix as well, because the Javelin, the Pitboss 2 and the Alpha/Alpha S all share some similarities in overall designs, handle and blade to a certain extent at least. But let's start off by doing a bit of a unboxing here. By now we are, fairly familiar with the plastic casings that are offered by Andrea de Villiers instead of the previous soft pouch that the knives came with. And yeah, we get this we get this sticker, ADV Tactical Skull sticker. That is something that is delivered with both knives, and there it went away. So let's see which one is which here. This is the Alpha S, and this is of course then the regular Alpha. Let's start off by going with the Alpha S, I think. So Alpha S to begin with. Plastic casing, semi-shock proof, perhaps waterproof to some extent, and let's open it up. So here we have the Alpha S satin version. As with the Pitboss 2, you can decide if you want to open it using the flipper tab, the hole here, the ring hole, or just by pushing the button lock. And the same with the Pitboss 2 here, and with the Javelin for that matter, you have the locking mechanism here for the button lock. So this is what this specific version of the Alpha S looks like. And I say this specific version because, as you can see right away, this one has a partial serration. I do not think that is the standard, but it was it was the option I went with for this specific one. The other one I'm going to show, which is not an Alpha S, does not have the partial serration. It also does not have a satin blade, it's a coated blade. So, titanium, purple, G10 inlay, satin finish, S35 VN blade. I will go over the specs once we have taken this first look at both of the knives. Just want to give you guys a first look before we dwell too much into the overall design, the ERGOS, the specifications, and all that. Yeah, I should probably have, cleaned the blade a bit, been playing a little with it, so... But yeah, I can clean it up before we go into the full specs. So, the Alpha S. Partial serrations, satin blade, purple G10, and titanium. And then we have the regular Alpha. Same type of plastic casing. A bit different, inside contents here. So we see right away here, we got a black coated blade, we got black titanium, and we got some black and red carbon fiber, like shredded carbon fiber. Quite different from what we just saw with the Alpha S in terms of materials. So this is what the regular Alpha looks like. It's got this recurve here that we did not see and will not see on an Alpha S. It also does not have a compound grind as the Alpha S. So there are a bit of differences in terms of the blade design. And then again, I mean, my Alpha S came with partial serrations, which is not the standard. That is actually what I want to get my hands on in the future, a non-partial serrated blade for the Alpha S. So, whether or not I prefer coatings, well, I mean, in general, I kind of do not prefer coatings actually, but together here, like with the black titanium and the black and red carbon fiber, I think the coating, it just goes well. Sure, it will have a more, tactical look, for better or worse, depending on who you ask, but I'm glad I don't have to, pick between the two, because, well, I do have a satin version and now I have a black coated version as well, so not a big deal for me personally. And well, what more should we say before delving into the actual, ERGOS and specs and everything? I'm not really sure. Maybe we should just, settle like this for now. This is what they look like. Very, different, I would say. I mean, in general, also, I do prefer satin coatings because it just shows the grind lines better than a black coated blade where it's all, like matte black and you don't really see the grind lines very easily. But I think that when going over the specs, I mean, the specs should be identical despite, having some differences in terms of, blade shape and blade design. The actual specs should be very, very similar, if not, more or less identical. So I think I'm going to use the Alpha S to go over the specs, the ERGOS, and stuff like that. But I just wanted to point out the main differences in the blade shape and blade design before moving on. I guess I could have done two separate videos, one showcasing the Alpha S and one showcasing the Alpha, but to make it a bit more easy for me, I'm just gonna go with them together like this. Wonder if we can see the red threads here in the carbon fiber. I have a feeling this is gonna be difficult to, see on the video, but yeah. It is what it is. So let's delve into the numbers. Let's go over the specs now using the Alpha S. But like I mentioned before here, the regular Alpha do share most of the, if not all, the specifications, at least in terms of the close length, the overall length, blade thickness, etc. Those things will be identical. I guess there could be a difference in terms of weight, but I don't think that difference is going to be like any major difference at all. Yeah, so let's begin here by taking a look at the overall length. As you can probably guess and see right away, this is not a small knife. This is quite a large knife. So it's got a total length here of 250 millimeters, which equals to 25 centimeters. That is a large knife. We've got a blade length of 110 millimeters. So that is 11 centimeters in blade length. Definitely a long blade. We've got a close length of 140 millimeters. So that means that the folded length is 14 centimeters. I guess you don't need to have, super large pockets, but I mean, having semi-large pockets would probably be helpful, right? So, the blade thickness here, let's see if we can get a good look there, is 4.6 millimeters, which would be, considered fairly thick, even for a fixed blade, perhaps. And the materials used here is CPM S35VN for the blade. We got titanium and purple G10 inlays. But as always with knives made by Andrea de Villiers, you can get different materials for inlays, and sometimes not just inlays, but like full carbon fiber scales or full G10 scales, etc. These knives are made in batches, so there will always be a bit of differences and variations in materials used. sometimes even for blade steel as well. That being said, the weight of this knife is, I think it's specified at 234 grams. So it is on the heavier side. I mean, almost 250 grams, if you should, round it up a bit. Maybe we should put it on a scale, and also with the regular alpha to see what the weight difference actually is. See the balance point, maybe we should check that out as well. So this is where we will find the balance point, which is right at the second finger groove here, or the first finger groove, depending on which way you count from. I will say that, I spoke a bit before about, pros and cons about blade finishes, and I will say that, the satin finish really does highlight the grind lines in a nice way. But it is also a fingerprint magnet, which is something you do not have to really worry about with a matte black coated blade. Anyways, let's delve into some other aspects here of the knife. So it is obviously a button lock design, we know that by now. We have this locking mechanism here to ensure the knife does not close or open when you don't want it to close or open. Let's see, the centering of the blade here is 100%. It is perfectly centered. There is no blade play, and I'm gonna wipe away my fingerprints right away there so we have a nice blade to look at. No blade play. Full shutty. And I would say it is, pretty snappy opening as well, both in terms of opening and closing. Just, the way you want a button lock knife to be and act. Looking at the blade here, once again, like I mentioned before, this is a compound grind. Should be pretty easy to see it here. And we also got this partial serrations. I am not a fan of serrations, to be honest, but it was what was offered when I wanted to buy this model. I might pick up one without serrations in the future. So what are the pros of serrations compared to a non-serrated edge? Well, I guess that the main argument is usually like cutting rope or paracord, etc. It will, since it is, toothy, it will get, a good grip and cut the rope. That being said, I've never had, any real issues cutting any type of rope or cord with just, a regular sharp edge. So, yeah. Some people will think that this looks cooler, better, nicer. Others will say that, hey, that kind of takes away from the overall aesthetics from the knife, and that's gonna be pure personal preferences only. Are we in focus or not? I'm not really sure actually. So serrations looks like this, and on the other side it looks like this. Sure looks better like this, right? But that is the world of serrations. So in terms of ERGOS here, I wear size 10 in gloves, fairly large hands. Placing the knife in my hand looks like this. Lots of room. I can even, go like with a back grip and not even use the finger grip up here. But this feels, the most natural. We do have some jimping, pretty, large jimping, not overly aggressive, but does provide you with some good grip, I think. And natural resting place for your thumb as well. It feels comfortable to hold in your hand. In terms of a, like reverse grip, yeah, it feels good in a reverse grip as well, should you want to use that. Which I never do, but some people might find this to be important information, so that's why I'm adding it into the video. So aside from that, what more should we say? Yeah, it's obviously a drop point design, bit of a swedge grind as well. Man, the fingerprints here. So let's see if you can see, like, we have the full thickness of the spine here with the jimping. Full thickness continues here, and then it goes into this swedge grind, which is not, not too fine of a swedge, but definitely a swedge grind nonetheless, to make it, easier to penetrate or pierce with the knife. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this knife has some, tactical elements to it, but at the same time, I think it is a, very useful and versatile design. Would be even more versatile without the partial jimping though, however. Is there anything more we should say, or should we move on to doing some sharpness testing perhaps? Or should we take once more a closer look at the regular alpha? No, I think we did take a good look at it before going into the specs. So this is it for, for the unboxing, the specifications, and just overall design elements, ERGOS, etc. Fit and finish is on point. Sure hope the sharpness is as well. Time to do some sharpness testing here, and we're gonna go with two types of paper. Regular printing paper and then some newspaper. So I'm gonna use both the Alpha S and the regular Alpha, because I think now that we have both of them, I think it's good to just see the consistency in sharpness overall, and especially since I've done so many different ADV videos lately, it is interesting to see if all the knives keep some consistency in terms of overall sharpness. And we're gonna start with the printing paper, and then we're gonna go with the newspaper. So regular printing paper and Alpha S. And we're not gonna start by using the serrated edge at least. I don't think those serrations are made for cutting paper. So we're gonna go with the regular plain edge, and then we might try the serrations just for fun, however. But it's not really part of the sharpness test per se. So, regular edge test first, right? This folded. Yeah. So I mean it is sharp, but perhaps not the sharpest knife that I've gotten from Andrea. But no doubt will it slice paper. I mean, and that is after all, the main test here is, the slicing of printing paper, and it does slice printing paper. I mean, fairly nice still. I mean, we are turning it into confetti right now. Let's try the, just for fun, let's try the serrated edge as well. So this could be interesting. Yeah, I mean, you will not get super clean cuts, but I mean, the edge is serrated, so I guess there is, a reason for that. A better test of this edge would of course be to cut some, I don't know, some rope or paracord, etc. But nonetheless, I mean, it will, well, not cut, it will saw the paper. Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that the serrations are actually quite sharp, but they were never made to slice paper. I mean, that is for sure. So let's try the regular Alpha now and see what the sharpness of that one is. Let's clean this away. So next up, regular Alpha. with its you know, semi-aggressive recurve at that. Oops. Do this folding thing here as well, perhaps. So let's cut the folded paper now. Let's see. Yeah. So I mean, this one is it is sharp, but with like, you know, like the Alpha S, it's not perhaps the sharpest knife that I have gotten from Andrea, but it is, I mean, obviously it is sharp. It will slice the paper here, no doubt about it. So yeah, it is sharp. Let's continue with the newspaper next. So here we have some newspaper and an Alpha S. So let's yeah, I'm not gonna go with the serrations on the newspaper. I just ain't gonna do that, but we're gonna try the regular edge, so. Oops. Getting into those nasty serrations. Yeah, I mean, this one will definitely slice newspaper. Yeah. Well, I think we got some nice slices out of that piece of newspaper, and let's go ahead and try the regular Alpha next. So, regular Alpha and newspaper. Let's see. So I will say that the regular Alpha also will slice newspaper without much trouble. Before we proceed to the final thoughts and conclusions, I think it would be a good idea actually to compare the Alpha and the Alpha S to the Pitboss 2, since I mentioned quite a few times that they do share a few similarities. So let's pick out the satin version here, the Alpha S, and put it up against the bead blasted version of the Pitboss 2. See if you can get them semi side by side like this. So you can see straight away that they do share quite a few similarities, but there are also a couple of noticeable differences for sure. So Pitboss 2, Alpha S. See. Me personally, I do prefer the Pitboss 2 over the Alpha S and over the Alpha for that matter, but it's all personal preferences with blade shapes, etc. I just find this to be a more practical knife in some sense to me, and I also like the looks better. And I'm not saying that this is more practical just because it lacks the partial serrations, but even if this one didn't have partial serrations, I would still just find this blade shape to be more practical for my needs. So, Pitboss 2, Alpha S. Then we have the regular alpha and the coated Pitboss 2. So with the recurve, like I said, it's difficult seeing the grind lines here. It's due to the coatings, but the Pitboss 2 do have a lot more interesting grind lines and a compound grind compared to the more straightforward, even though it has a recurve regular alpha. I think this is perhaps it in terms of comparison. I just wanted to, well, throw it out like this so you can get sort of just a sense of the differences and the similarities between the models. And like I mentioned before there, I mean, if we would have had a javelin, I would have thrown it into the mix of comparisons, etc. But I currently do not own a javelin. So yeah, maybe for the future. Time for some rather quick final thoughts and conclusions, because I feel like I've said most of the things that I wanted to say in this video. But all in all, I mean, I do like the Alpha S quite a bit. And I also like the regular Alpha. But I do prefer the Pitboss 2 over both of these two blades. And if I had to pick one of these two, I mean, I think the recurve looks really nice. I would have liked this one perhaps to be in satin finish or a bead blasted finish. Would have been, maybe even better looking. Despite, the theme here is on the nice side, albeit a bit, perhaps too tactical in some sense. But I do like the recurve. It is a nice touch. But I also feel like I'm missing the nice grind lines here with the compound grind. The partial serrations, I mean, it looks kind of nice, but it's not really a favorite of mine. It was, what was available, and I felt like, yeah, I mean, I can go with the partial serrations. It's okay. But if I could pick only one of these two knives or models, not these specific knives, but models, I would have gone, I think, with the Alpha S, but with no partial serrations, to put it like that. But even so, even an Alpha S with no serrations, that would still not have beaten the Pitboss 2, in my opinion. I just prefer, the overall blade design, blade shape of the Pitboss 2, to put it like that. That being said, this is, these are only my personal preferences, and it's not, like objective, not criticism, but it's not like, an objective opinion. I mean, opinion are subjective to begin with. Well, anyways, I think that most of you understand what I'm saying. In terms of like fit and finish, sharpness, ERGOS, etc., both of these knives are really nicely done. Well-centered blades, good opening and closing action, sharp blades, not the sharpest of knives that I have that are made by Andrea de Villiers, but they are still, capable of slicing printing paper with ease and slicing newspaper with, interestingly enough, even more ease. So, I mean, if you've been thinking about picking an Alpha or an Alpha S up, I hope this video has helped you get, a better understanding of the design elements, the ERGOS, the actual performance of the blade, etc. So, yeah. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say. I mean, I like these knives a lot. They will be kept, as will, most of my, if not all of my knives. But I will probably try to score a Alpha S with non-serrated partial edge. That is probably what I'm gonna try to go for next, if not picking up another Pitboss 2, which I could definitely see happening, since I like that knife as much as I do. So, I think that's it for this video. And that's also it for my ADV videos in general, because I don't have any more to show right away. So next up, I think we're gonna go with some, I'm not sure what I'm gonna go with next. Maybe some Access models or some Medford. I'll see what I will throw in for my upcoming videos. Over and out.